and welcome to our Stay Safe, Stay at Home, Stay Secluded edition of Poetic License. I usually read at the beginnings of months at open mics from new book releases. This one I would like to share with you is the new issue of Down in the Dirt, volume 170, April 2020, released on April 1st, and it is called Formative. The reason why I chose this cover is because oftentimes when you are in your formative years, you learn about different religions and different ideologies, and when I saw this in Visakhapatnam, India, where it was a water basin for collecting water and for sharing water in public places, I thought this strip was gorgeous, so I thought that might be an appropriate cover for Formative. Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Stay Safe, Stay at Home, Stay Quarantined edition of Poetic License. I figured since there are normally books all around when we are at Recycled Reads that being in a library space would be appropriate for this reading. And thank you for the opportunity of letting me share these new book releases to you guys. This first set of poems I'm going to share is from a new release from Down in the Dirt magazine, released on April 1st, and it is called Formative. In the formative years of your life, you learn about new ideologies, ideals, possibly religions, or about growing up and what it's like to live in the real world. And when I saw this public watering center on a street in Visakhapatnam in India, I thought this was absolutely perfect, and for some reason I thought it was a good way to be able to show about how different ideas can pop into your head with a title like Formative. So I thought I would first read for you a poem, a very short one that appears after prose, because sometimes if there's prose and there's a little bit of space, too little for a big piece of artwork, I'll have something small in here. So there's a small piece here called Xenon and PTSD, to fight that spiral. Older generations may say things seem so stellar in the past, and you may seem saddened when you hear the wistful way they talk. And though they fought their own wars, you turn on your TV to see terrorists fly airplanes into collapsing Twin Towers in New York. You see riots in the streets and gun shootings on the South Side. When you take a lunch break, you see on TV the Notre Dame spire now up in smoke and realize the bad is burning, but so is the good. Your anxiety, moodiness, depression from too many traumatic things is positivity on your negativity that makes it a self-fulfilling prophecy. I know the world is tough, but the world can be good too. So stop searching to wallow in the impossibly bad. You'll discover the good. Please, take that first step and then see what you can now do. I believe that is a piece that will later be a bonus poem in the periodic table Twitter length poems. That'll be a bonus because that's a little bit longer than a Twitter length poem, but we'll see if that one comes out this year. But anywho, I thought in the back of this book there are a bunch of poems that talk about things that happened in April. So I thought I'd share some of those with you. This first one is called Quartermaster General, Burying Bodies. This was written on the day of the beginning of the Civil War, which was in April. And it is from the perspective of Montgomery C. Meigs. We'll see how this goes. Quartermaster General, Burying Bodies. When I came to these United States back in 1837, I shadowed a man who later became my good friend, Robert E. Lee. I became close to him, this leader of men. I really thought he was what a Christian man should be. So we remained friends until 1861, when war broke out here, and Lee decided to desert us, the Union Army, and attempted to lead the Confederate Army. all I could think was this entire time was a man that I looked up to. I modeled myself after him, and now he is the biggest traitor since Benedict Arnold? Yes, I looked up to him, but I don't admire a man who chose to be in cahoots with rednecks who love slavery. So my only choice was to battle against this man. I've seen their home for years, with his wife Mary tending to their most elaborate rose garden. I'm sure she fumed when Robert made her leave her precious roses because of the war. And eventually, I became the Quartermaster General of the Union Army. We crossed the Potomac and actually occupied Robert E. Lee's residence. We even made it our headquarters when Lee fought Ulysses S. Grant. And in this 40-day bloodbath, it massacred like 82,000 people. They were all killed in 1 month, and I had to deal with all of this incoming dead Union soldiers. Every soldier I had to bury made me more and more angry at Lee. But then my heart was broken when one of the dead soldiers that came to me was my son. My son. No father should bury their own child like this. And yes, what I'm about to say makes me sound like a quasi-madman, but I want to make sure that Robert E. Lee can never come back. And if he does, let him sleep amongst Union ghosts. Where do we put all these bodies from our fallen brothers? Let's bury them right here on Lee's property. Bury our men around his house, around his porch, and let's make a big pit for our dead in Mary's rose garden. When we won the Civil War, Robert and his wife, Mary, came back to find that their precious home that they loved so much was turned into a graveyard. I hear that after I died, Lee's land became the heart of Arlington National Cemetery as a fitting way to honor all of our soldiers. And to top it all off, Mary's treasured rose garden became the space for the tomb of the unknown soldier. How perfect. The land that I reclaimed from the leader of the South is now and will forever be the heartbeat of America. Well, let's try to make it a little bit older, because on April 13th was Thomas Jefferson Day. That was also his birthday, from the 13th in 1743. This poem is called Quarrel over the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, both founding fathers of the United States, were good friends, but they never agreed on how the government should run. They quarreled over the Constitution. John thought it was a document that should bend to change to the needs of the time, but Thomas said, no way, this is the Constitution. There is a structure that does not bend. But as I said, they were friends nonetheless until John Adams was president. And by 1800, President Adams made the robust declaration that it is illegal to say anything bad about the President of the United States, and the federal government will get you if you even think of committing that crime. At this point, Jefferson was enraged, thinking that there's a little thing called freedom of speech, and this is a direct violation of anything this country is supposed to stand for. So, when the next election came, Jefferson had to run against Adams to get him out of the presidency. So the two of them started saying anything derogatory about the other one in order to win. Apparently, because Jefferson would argue for individual rights, Adams would say things like, voting for Jefferson is like voting for murder or incest because he thinks that anyone can do anything they want. And Jefferson was stunned that Adams would stoop so low. So he said his only retort would be then with more bad stuff about Adams. And now, keep in mind, these are founding fathers that are acting like 8th graders, especially when John Adams would say things like, Jefferson has prostitutes shipped in from overseas to have sex with all the time. And Jefferson's response would go to the newspapers to tell them that Adams was actually a hermaphrodite, that he had both male and female sex organs. And they actually published this, Jefferson's words on record. At this point, Adams thought, fine, if they're going to play dirty, let's play. Because Adams then spread the word that Thomas Jefferson was actually dead. No point in voting for a dead man for president, right? I mean, really, the incumbent president's campaign strategy was vote for me, I'm alive. Good call. So Jefferson found different ways to get him back, like calling upon the Hatcher man, James Callender, to publish newspaper articles about Adams that he wants to go to war with France. Yes, this was published. And yes, Jefferson won, but Adams thought before he left that he would appoint into office below him a lot of people who vehemently opposed everything Jefferson stood for, which might be a proper statement on how politics can get things done while dealing with people with opposing views, but really, who am I to judge? So, near the end of Jefferson's first term as president, his daughter died. Abigail Adams, John's wife, felt bad, and though they had their differences, she wrote him a sympathy letter to Thomas Jefferson. And Jefferson responded, saying that was very kind of you, thank you, but while I have you here, John tried to ruin my presidency, so I truly only feel bad will toward you. And Jefferson probably wanted to use a lot more expletives, but I don't have the original letter, so I cannot confirm his true words. Now, keep in mind that maturity level of these two, they were founding fathers who were consecutive presidents of the United States. So, Abigail said to John Adams, that's it. Thomas Jefferson is dead to us. And a decade went by, them not speaking to each other, until another founding father, Benjamin Rush, told Adams to just let it pass. That we shared all those glorious 1776 days together. I mean, they started the country times. They were magical. So John Adams fondly reflected on those times with Tommy Jeffs deciding to write back a letter. Very general. Hey, we haven't talked in a while. How are you doing? I miss you. I hope that you're doing okay. Jefferson got this letter thinking of his once friend, Johnny Adams, and he wrote a cordial letter back after 10 years. And they kept writing each other, and they realized that they had a lot more in common. By the end of their lives, they'd exchanged 158 letters. These two were friends again. And by 1826, John Adams is on his deathbed, and his last words were, "Independence forever." They didn't know this, but they both died on the same day, July 4th, 1826, the 50-year anniversary of them signing the Declaration of Independence, which seems like the perfect ending for a tumultuous and insanely groundbreaking friendship. Okay, alright, we'll do something more humorous. This is written for Edible Book Day, which is also April 1st, because it can't always just be about April Fools, right? This one is called Eat Your Words. With the family sick and in bed yesterday, I thought about the Edible Book Festival that I was at home missing out on. With my library of books, both made and read, I wondered if paper was literally edible, and then saw how people celebrated this day, not by actually eating books, but making facsimiles of books, like making pastries for the icing makes food look like a book. I have no intention all alone to bake a cake to fashion into a book to eat, so I looked for another way to eat my words, and I added alphabet soup noodles to my egg drop soup. Mixing letters and numbers with strands of egg whites really made it a messy read, but I still had enough leftover yummy word soup to enjoy today, and maybe tomorrow. I might not have literally made a book, but my intentions of my integration of text into my soup and in my deconstructed literary inspiration, they tell you not to play with your food, but April 1st was the day I could play with my letters within my food that form the words that describe our lives. And hey, that's reason to celebrate too. I don't know how cameras can hold, but when I was doing short poems, if I could, I would also have Instagram images. I'm going to put this up this way. I have no idea. Different cameras can see stuff, and it says, eat your words. There, and there's a little picture of the Instagram image of eating your words. Fun. This one, I've got two more from this book for you. This one is called Zones of Comfort and Taking a Chance. It was written on National Take a Chance Day, which is April 2nd. Oh no, it's actually April 23rd, 423. And then my cat's here, hi. My cat wouldn't be coming by if I was at Recycled Reads, so hi girl. This one is called Zones of Comfort and Taking a Chance. Honey, I'm still free, take a chance on me. I recently heard that Mark Twain said, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. Later, after I had money saved and sufficiently hated my job, I quit. And I traveled around the country by car, driving 8 hours a day to visit old friends in new cities, and so I could otherwise go and try to get out of my comfort zone. Months later, I got the chance to fly an airplane, and I thought, I've never done that before, so why not? And off I went. More recently, while snorkeling, I saw in the distance what looked like a white-tipped shark sleeping along the bottom of the ocean. I had no scuba gear, but where it was, it wasn't too deep where I was, so I promised that I wouldn't get too close. And as I swam, I saw at least 24, maybe 30 of these sharks so peacefully sleeping in a perfect row. In fact, today was my scheduled day to purchase an electric hybrid American car. And come to think of it, I heard about a man who wore a stainless steel woven metal suit where he could then literally conduct 200,000 volts from a Tesla coil to what looked like right through him. There's a video of this man in his metal suit conducting electricity from this Tesla coil so to this outstretched arm, and then along his body and through this wooden stool that he stood on, and then finally into the ground. After this, I keep thinking that there's a certain electricity in the air, and I have to wonder if he wears the same size as I do, and could I fit into that suit and move some electricity myself. Because maybe it's true. Maybe you'll be disappointed by the things that you didn't do versus the things you do. So, honey, I'm still free. Take a chance like me. This is a good ending piece for this one. This is called Karma and Lollipops. And this was written on Tangible Karma Day, which falls on the first Saturday in April. I'm kidding. I got you. This is called Karma and Lollipops. When we were about to check out of the hotel this weekend, a woman at the registry stopped us, handed us 2 embossed bunny lollipops, and said, "Happy Easter." Even though Easter was weeks away, I said thank you and went to their breakfast. Well, he got coffee and I got some orange juice and yogurt. He then pointed to his mom seated with her 2 little boys eating. I looked at the lollipops still in my hand, walked over to them and asked if it was okay to give her boys these 2 lollipops. She smiled and said yes to these plastic-wrapped lollipops, but since I thought breakfast might not be the best time for candy, I gave the mother the lollipops, then got to the rest of my food with my luggage before we got on the road again. People get high and mighty with their phrase, "Do unto others as you would have others do unto you." You reap what you sow. What goes around comes around, or even paying it forward. But these random acts of kindness, this tangible karma, all pretty much amounts to the same basic truth. What you do, the energy that you put out into the world, will come back to you. The added bonus for tangible karma is that while you're doing good for someone else, it makes you feel good too. But if karma is true and good things come to you because of the good you do, then these insignificant acts of kindness are tangible proof, evidence for exactly what you can do. Because the nice thing with karma is that all that goodness will always come back to you. That was this month's Down the Dirt. Yay! It's a very formative issue, and I hope you enjoyed it.